Hey everyone, and welcome to KFES Streaming Convos with Cunningham. Today joined by Joe Hobbs, local businessman and a candidate for presiding commissioner of Cape County. Joe, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. So let's let people know a little bit about your background. So for those who may not know, Joe is the driving force behind Wings, etc., both in Cape and Jackson.
And Dexter.
And Dexter,
And
sorry.
Dexter, yep.
How's that
It's not
going?
in Cape County, but
Yeah.
It's going great. We're on our 14th year now, so just hammering along, doing the thing, making great wings.
What was the idea behind that? Because I remember when you guys started, you know, it was kind of a new thing. Not that there wasn't a Wings place or whatever, but
Yeah.
Wings, etc. I'd never heard of it, and now it's kind of a household name around this area.
I hope so. We've worked hard to get that way. Yeah, we started out, I was in the restaurant business for 40 years now, long time, and my wife and I always said I'd never own a restaurant because my parents did, and I saw what they went through.
Yeah,
Here
it's
we
a
are.
tough business.
It's a very tough business, 7 days a week, you know, open late and everything else, but here we are, and it started because I wanted to get out from under a boss kind of thing, even though Michelle's my boss, of course.
Yeah, I'm
that's-
married too.
That
I
just
get it.
happens,
Yeah.
yeah. But we wanted to kind of do something in Jackson, where my wife is from, and didn't have a sports bar over there, and we Googled Wings, etc., and found them and went and talked to them, and it was just pretty amazing what they've done. They do a lot of the right things for the right reasons, and they've been franchisees before, and they didn't go so well for them, and so they try to treat us franchisees as partners instead of the franchisees, I guess, for lack of any other term. So,
What is the best part about being in the restaurant business besides being your own boss? What else?
the best part, you're getting to meet people, and just I really enjoy that. Sometimes I forget that that's the joyful part, but just being able to hang out with people and visit with people, you know, every day that I run a shift, like I was running shifts today, and you get to visit with people, you know, not just when you take their food, but just other times, and you get to make friends. That's anybody that's been in the restaurant business or bar business for any amount of time knows there's regulars, and they're regulars for a reason because you get to like each other. So that's really the biggest piece, I think. And then obviously making money and doing everything else, but that's the biggest piece, is getting to know people.
This is random, but are wings your favorite, your most popular item at your restaurant?
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. It's interesting. So boneless and bone-in fluctuate between locations. Like Jackson is more boneless and Cape is more bone-in.
Interesting.
But they're both the number one, by far, the number one selling item. So
Well, they're good. So
I think so.
tell us a little bit about why you decided to, you know, throw your hat in the ring for presiding commissioner of Cape County. For those who don't know, Clint Tracy is not running again. I guess you could say he's retiring from public office.
From presiding commissioner,
Yeah,
at least, yes.
And you're going up against a couple of different people. Charlie Herbst, who is already a county commissioner, and Mr. Strock, who is running as well. So what made you decide to throw your hat in the ring?
There are several things. Some of the things that Michelle and I looked at was just some of the transparency or lack thereof. As you kind of dig into some of the public information, you can kind of see some things. It's just questionable. I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong or anything, but it's just, as a business person, as business owners and operators, we definitely would have done things differently.
Do you have something? I'm sorry. Do you have something specific? A specific issue you're talking about?
Just some of the spending and just how it's handled. Nothing in particular that I'm going to point out. I'm not trying to be negative towards them. I think they do a fine job. The county's very flush with cash right now, so that's a good thing. But I know that need to be a little more frugal with the money that's spent and make decisions as a business owner instead of just kind of as it's always been done. I think that was some of the things. And then the other thing is, you know, if my opponent wins, then the governor gets to appoint his replacement. And a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know that. And that kind of really threw us over the edge with nothing against the governor one way or another. I know there's people that love him and people that maybe don't love him so much, but I don't want the governor appointing a political office for Cape County for 2 years. And that was kind of among the things that really struck us to jump into the race and decide this is what we're going to do.
Is the concern for you guys that the governor might appoint someone who doesn't have any business experience or
Sure,
or something like that?
To a large degree, sure. Definitely not the business experience that we have. I mean, maybe it would. I don't know. It may be somebody perfect. I don't know. But that's the question: is we don't know. Number one, and number two, whoever it is doesn't have to go through this process and sit with the Jeff Cunninghams of the world and say, "Here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Here's what I want to do. What I want to try to accomplish." So, and you should have to do that. I think president, senator, state Congress, whatever it is. I think you should have to do that so that people can make a informed as much as you can today decision on things.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit. Why do you think, for a voter, why is it important for our county commission, or in this case, presiding commissioner or someone appointed, to have business experience, in your opinion?
I think it's important because in government, it seems like, and we've seen a lot of this again, whether you like President Trump or not. A businessman in there has brought a different view and kind of taken it away from the same old, same old. When you look at some of the spending that the government does, I mean, I don't think there's either side, left or right, would say that it's done well. Ronald Reagan said, the seven, I think it's 7 worst words in the world. I'm with the government. I'm here to help. Mm-hmm. And nobody really feels comfortable with that anymore. And so I think it's important that a business person get in there and make the decisions based on what a business would operate as, and then also be able to make the HR decisions. I make HR decisions all day, every day, as far as who to hire, who to let go, who to discipline, all the things. And there's certain ways you do that. I mean, there's a reason that people go to school to learn how to do HR. I've been going to school for that for 40 plus years and learning how to do that. Not just the spending, but that's a big piece of it. Obviously, that's the public piece is the spending. So.
What about some of the projects that that are going on in the county? Are there any? I talked to Charlie a little bit about solar farms, the potential for data centers, different things like that. Is there anything that's on your radar that you are for? Anything you're against?
There's nothing on my radar except the price of chicken wings every week. But as far as the data centers, I think you could find 10 stories that make you for it and 10 stories that make you against it. So, I mean, that goes either way. I think the biggest thing that needs to happen is there needs to be transparency. And I'll probably say that word another 100 times in this podcast, but being transparent about what's going on, being transparent about how somebody's going to use our water resources, our electric resources, and it needs to happen up front, not in closed rooms and closed doors. And the public needs to be aware of it because it's going to impact them one way or another. Maybe it's a great thing and all this tax revenue goes off the charts and we can go build all the things we want to build. Maybe they take all of our water and all of a sudden water rates go up, electric rates go up. So we need to be transparent and upfront about it. A city size data center, some of these data centers are cities the size of Cape Girardeau, right? Mm-hmm. And so it should have the same scrutiny for that one project that a city should have as far as, hey, who's going to do what, who's going to pay for what happens if, and that's where you bring in the people that know these things, and they can really back you up one way or another. But I think the important piece is we need to get facts and know what they are up front. There's a big sentiment out there right now that no, and that's fine. I mean, when I'm the public officer, presiding commissioner of the county, I'm going to listen to the people. I'm going to try to educate people my thoughts, but I feel like you should listen to the constituency, if it's overwhelming. If it's 50-50, then, you make your decision. But if 90% of the people are against something, then even if you're for it, you need to be against it. So.
Yeah, because you should listen to the people. I
Yes.
got you. So,
Yes.
They're building some new stuff out there at Cape County Park North, that new pavilion and stuff for near the Veterans Home there. From a businessman standpoint, what in the county would you support us spending our money on? Are there projects besides, something like that pavilion? Are there things that you've thought, man, we should do X, and you'd be behind that, you would push for that?
Yes. On that pavilion, Dave Cantrell and the VFW and all them, and Brian Sanders from the Parks and Recs have done a fantastic job. I was the chairman for the United for Veterans Committee, or fundraiser, and we raised a bunch of money and gave to help with that project. And so very passionate about anything to do with veterans, trying to help them and honor them in the ways that they're doing. I think just, again, going back to listening to people and finding out what the general population wants. What do your constituents want is the biggest thing. There's Jackson city government recently put out there, I guess it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about the pool. And
Last week.
it was last week, yeah. And Michelle and I were there for that conversation. And what I liked about it was they said, okay, here's some thoughts. Now we need to go put it to the public. And by putting it to the public, then you get actual feedback. You're going to have, if you have 100 ideas, obviously there's going to be some outliers that don't make sense financially or physically, but you can drill down into that. And if you get, 10 ideas out of 100 that are all the same or similar, then you can kind of track down to that. And I think the same thing needs to be done and just be transparent about it up front so that everybody knows where you're going. And it shouldn't just be, oh, here's a project we're going to do, and nobody knows why or how or where the funding came from or, anything like that. So
what have you learned so far as you've, gotten the word out that you're running for a county office? What have you heard from people? Is there anything specific that you didn't know about before that you're like, wow, I hadn't considered that, and now you've been hearing people tell you some things?
Some of the things is what commissioners do. It's been, everybody's like, oh, presiding commissioner, what do you do? Yeah. And being the fiscal head of the county is the main thing. So being responsible for that, and making decisions if the assessor needs a new car, do we buy this or buy that? So those are some things that were kind of surprising to me, I guess, that I didn't know about. But the bigger projects are what the public sees. The jailhouse, the jail, the courthouse. Those things are some of the bigger projects that the people see, and it's big dollar amount, so they should see it and be concerned with it. So I think managing those a little bit better, maybe not better, but just differently, again, from a business standpoint, and understanding, what that looks like down the road. And again, just being a little more transparent. I know there were some people who were concerned about the courthouse, how that went down. And they've voiced that because they didn't feel like they knew what was supposed to happen or what was going to happen, or there was 2 or 3 different stories out there as to, we're going to renovate it, we're not going to renovate it, and then they end up renovating it. So, and maybe there's good reason. I don't know. I wasn't in those meetings, obviously, but I think it should be more transparent so that people don't have to ask questions to try to figure out what happened. So,
what have you learned in your business time that I only ask you this because it could affect your time as a commissioner? What's the difference between Jackson and Cape? As far having to deal with both city governments, they're so close together. They're kind of, sister cities, if you will, but also they have different vibes. I live in Jackson, work in Cape. Yeah. You've got 2 restaurants, one in Jackson, one in Cape, one in Dexter, but we're talking about Cape County. Yep. What's the vibe? What's the difference?
Jackson is more home. I feel like we live outside the city of Jackson a little bit, but we lived in Jackson for several years. It's more home, a little bit more. The weekends are a little more casual. I feel like Cape is a city, and it's not St. Louis size or anything, but it is a city, and it's buzzes, and there's always things to do, and you have the youth of Cape that want to always be having something to do, and I think they do a real good job of that. Again, parks are a thing, in the city of Cape, just like in Jackson as well. So I think it's a little bit more family oriented in Jackson, if that's fair to say. Maybe I'm biased because my family was raised over there, but I think that Cape offers a lot that people don't realize, and I think sometimes that's kind of almost humorous. Everybody's like, there's nothing to do. Well, there's always something to do. Sometimes you got to go look for it, I mean, I know somebody that built a playground that was fantastic, and what a great idea, and happy to help with some of that sometimes, but not trying to kiss up, by the way.
No, I get it. I appreciate all the help, for sure.
I think that was a really cool thing, and that's kind of in between, so Jackson folks can come and use it. So, but I do feel like in the last probably 5 or 6 years, there's a lot of that I-55 wall that's kind of starting to come down. I mean, when it comes to football, it's still a thing.
For sure. There's a rivalry.
And basketball and wrestling and all that, sure. But I feel like, politically and business-wise, I think there's starting to be some of that wall come down a little bit, and we can be a little bit more sister cities, as you said, and kind of start working together on some projects maybe and things.
Something that I talked to all the commissioners about a few months ago, and recently, came up was the property tax freeze that passed. What was your take on that as far as keeping our property taxes for some people at the same level as they, to freeze them?
The 2024 level.
Right, the 2024 level. Where did you come in on that?
The seniors, I think, they voted clearly. I think it was over 60% that the seniors voted to keep that. The other one was a little closer. I think when you look at where those dollars are going to come from, that's what scares people, because you can't just drop dollars. I mean, the government's not used to going backwards. They always want to go forward with spending, right? So I think that if we can clearly see where the makeup is coming from, and that's one of the things the governor's got to decide now, is when to put this next phase of that on, August or November, and decide here's the steps to bring that money back in, because you can't take away from the schools. They're already struggling, and we've already taken away from them at the state and federal level to some degree.
That was a big concern.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and as it should be. I mean, speaking of Jackson, that's what we're known for, schools, right? One of the things, and then even Cape over here, and then you got the private schools, of course, too. But Cape's doing a great job in the last 4 or 5 years of really coming on board and doing a great job as a school district as well. So, do you want to take the funding away from that, or do you want to shift it, to a different sales tax, on services or things like that? Who does that really affect in the long run, and will that money be able to be made up? That's the question that I don't think we have an answer to yet. Again, back to my original point, let's be transparent, let's be upfront about this, and I don't think that I haven't seen it anyway, that we're upfront about where that's going to get made up.
Have you talked to anybody from the governor's office or anything, as far as like if somehow you don't end up getting this position, would you want the governor to consider you as someone that gets appointed to that open position?
He can't appoint me because my opponent's position. Somebody told me don't say his name, so I'm not going to say his name.
That's okay.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him. But his district is District 2 for the city of Cape. So the person that would have to be appointed would also have to be from the city of Cape. So
what's your plan going forward, as far as if it doesn't work out? Are you going to stay involved? Are you going to run again? Are you going to? Do you have any other plans? Not thinking that far ahead.
I haven't thought that far. When Cortez came to the New World, he burned his ships. Thusly, his men were very motivated. So we're not thinking about that. We're thinking about when we win, what are we going to do, and how are we going to handle things. So that's the plan going forward. I'm still a business owner and operator. You probably smell like chicken wings today, but
yeah, you smell delicious.
Thanks, man. So I've got plenty to do, but I feel like this was important enough, and Michelle and I decided together that we need to go ahead and give this a run and see what we can do.
Yeah, honestly, that was kind of a dumb question on my part, because you would have to have that kind of attitude, wouldn't you?
You would hope.
Right?
That's
why do it if you don't think you're going to win?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So, where can people learn more about your thoughts, your platform? You have like a website?
We have a Facebook page, Joe Hobbs for Presiding Commissioner, and then they can email us. There's an email on there, voteforjoehobbs@gmail.com. We made it real complicated. And then, a lot of people have my number. They can shoot me a text or whatnot too, and just ask questions, because if I don't know the answer, I'll say that, and then I'll go find the answer. Because there's a lot of things. I'm going to learn as I go, and to some degree, but I'm also going to apply all of my business knowledge and business experience and HR experience, and having to make a payroll, having to pay the bills so that food keeps showing up next week too. That's a lot of pressure. Sometimes. Hopefully, we're doing a good enough job where it's not, because then the income's there. But just learning how to do that over the years has really made it to where I feel comfortable that I'm going to be able to do this. So, do
you worry that, you've got a pretty full-time gig as it is. You worry adding on another thing might hurt your businesses somehow, or hurt your not hurt your businesses, but hurt your time that you can spend there? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, we've thought about it, but we are very well staffed. We have some great people that work for us, and because of that, it allows me to free up to be able to do this. As soon as we decided, Michelle and I decided this, we looked at what we needed to do to make sure it was a thing. So we've got the staffing in place to be able to do that. A lot of what I do nowadays anyway, when I'm not in running a shift, is just via email or text messages and things anyway, just kind of controlling things and helping them give direction to the staff and just, moving and grooving. So we have a phone call every Monday with all of the GMs, and we all get together and kind of, decide what went well last week and what we can work on next week, and just what's coming up and things like that. So I don't think it'll be a problem at all. We'll be able to manage it all. So
well, I mean, it's a testament to what you guys have done, you and Michelle, because running a business, like you said, it's hard.
Yep.
A lot of them, don't make it. Restaurants, especially
restaurants. Yeah, for sure.
You guys are grooving, so that's good. Do you have any other events planned? Do you have any campaign type things you want to let people know about coming up?
We did. We had our kickoff event last week. It was amazing. Great turnout. The folks that were there were fantastic. Really enjoyed visiting with everybody. It was very humbling, very humbling, the folks that showed up. We've got a couple more events coming up. We're working on putting together one out in the county with a couple of farmers. And just to have a little meet and greet. And Michelle and I last Friday went down to Whitewater. They had a town council meeting, and went and visited with them. And that was really, it was really great. It was also kind of sad because they sometimes feel forgotten by the county. And so it was nice to hear, to be able to say, okay, when I'm in there, I need to remember that and, take it to heart. But yeah, we've got a couple things as we get them planned. We'll definitely put them up on our Facebook page, and that's the main way that we're going to be communicating. So
gotcha. I know you mentioned the playground and you mentioned Michelle, and my wife, Andrea, was pretty much the driving force behind the playground. I just did what I was told, and
understood.
But the community was so great. Everybody helping us out. We really appreciate it. We're glad. Blake, who we talked to, one of our reporters, Blake Schofield out there, Scowalter, sorry, who said he took his daughter there the other day, sent me a picture. It was great.
Cool.
How important is it for you to have Michelle's backing and have that partner in this thing? I know you said you and Michelle went to Whitewater. You and Michelle talked about different things. I mean, it's a partnership. How important has that been for you?
It is a partnership. There's not very many pictures that we post, a campaign trail, that it's not us. And that was one of the things last week that I told the group was, you're not just getting me, you're getting her. It's a team. We're a team effort. When we were going back and forth about deciding whether to do this or not, at one point she said, well, it's up to you. And I, no.
That's a trap.
Yeah.
I know how that works.
Yeah, get out now. But I said, no, that's not how this is going to go. And she understood that, she knew it. I think she was testing me, frankly. But, and we discussed it for several weeks. This wasn't just a one day, hey, let's do this. It was on a whim. It was, we discussed it back and forth, the pros and cons of what we needed to do as far as staffing and things like that and what it would take. And we both decided this is what we want to do, and we want to try to help make the county a better place. So
great. Well, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your time. Appreciate what you do for the community. You're a big booster for Southeast athletics as well. See you at the games.
We love doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, the student athletes that we've been bringing in the last 10 years or probably longer, but are just phenomenal.
That's been
great
one of the great things about. I mean, I don't want to get off on a tangent too much here, but the tailgating at the football games, and I haven't done it a ton. I've done it like 3 times. Man, what a great time that's become.
Yes. Nate Severino had that vision a while back, and really not to drop names, but he really makes that happen.
Give credit where credit's due.
It's definitely due to him.
Yeah.
And me, I tell Brady Barkey all the time. Once Wings Etc. came on board, look at all the winning that happened.
Just went through the roof with that. Well, you can't tailgate without wings.
That's right. That's right. And there we are. So
well, anyway, so we wish you the best of luck. When is the election?
August 4th is the election. Vote for Joe Hobbs, because there's another Joe on there. But Joe Hobbs is who we want you to vote for on August 4th. And look forward to just, again, being transparent with the government and trying to make good decisions based on business sense that we can bring to it. So.
Okay, great. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for us for today. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're watching, listening, or both. We appreciate it. And until next time, this is Jeff Cunningham.